Right, hi guys. So my name's Robbie and I've been invited by Mike, our Prissy Palates, to talk through these selection of wines. Here we have Orin Swift, which is a phenomenal, really interesting brand, and it's all started by Dave Phinney with his love affair of wine, being invited over to Florence from his best friend. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that, but the three things I'd probably like to say about Orin Swift, which makes it quite unique, is the sense of they source their grapes from all over California. They don't focus on a particular region, Napa, Sonoma. He likes that flexibility to source his fruit from many different quality vineyards. The other thing is that there's a great story behind it. Dave fell into wine like a lot of us, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that, from his trip to Florence to then his infusion into wine for picking grapes, to creating these excellent labels on these wines, that sort of journey. And the other thing is that these wines are amazing, very iconic labels, which you can see. But what do we have that we're going to be tasting? So we're going to be tasting Abstract, 8 Years in the Desert, and Palermo. So it's a really special tasting, and these wines are all available at Wine Rack, and I'll go through the pricings and the vintages, but let's crack on. So, one thing I forgot to mention about Dave Phinney is that he's been recognised for his quality winemaking by the Wine Enthusiast for being credited with the Winemaker of the Year award, which is a phenomenal achievement in 2019, and he's very proud of that. So this is Abstract. So this is Grenache, Petit Syrah, and this is regional California. So there we go. And this is the 2018 vintage of our iconic label. And there's a story to the label, which I'll go into a little bit more detail. But let's have a smell first. So really thick, inky colour. A lot of people say that when they see it, and you've got really thick legs as well, if you can see them on the glass. The nose is really expressive in the sense of it's got that nice sort of plum, prune, fig almost nose. It's just that juicy character. Dave loves to pick his wines a little bit later on the grapes, and he likes the wines to be really concentrated, really intense, really full throttle in flavour, so you get a lot for your value for money for what you buy. This wine is priced at $35.99, and he got the idea of Abstract when his friend was his roommate at the time, and he made a lot of collages, and he said to his friend, well, one day I'm going to make my own collage. So he set up, when he had a bit of time, he started collecting all these different images in this bottle. It took him 3 years, believe it or not, and then a further 3 months to then collate all the images and create a collage of them. A lot of people like to identify people on them, such as Elvis Presley, the Queen, Sir Edmund Hillary, and he likes to make the connection with the wine in the sense of individually the blend is good, but together they make an amazing wine. This wine, the original blend, was made from 100 different lots. So it was a bit of a marathon tasting when he was tasting them. But anyway, let's have a taste, see where we are. So again, you have that burst of fig and prune and plum, but you've got a little bit more acidity coming through, freshness. And with that, you've got that currenty note, red currant, almost a touch of sort of oak and chocolate. This sees around about 8 months in French oak majority second usage, Dave likes to use second uses mostly due to the fact he wants the varietal to speak for themselves and not just be an oak bomb. And the varieties change from sort of sometimes year to year within these wines. For instance, Palermo we'll sort of talk about, but he likes to have that sort of freedom really. And with that freedom, as I already mentioned, regional California is on the back of the label, which allows him just to pick the grapes from pretty much anywhere. Food matching, I would probably put it this well with casserole, burgers, possibly even a little bit of a steak. Vegetarian option, I'd probably look for more sort of char-grilled vegetables, maybe something with a bit of tomato sauce would work really well. This is really an introductory wine to what Orin Swift's all about. It's really inviting on the flavours and the palates. It's not too intense on the tannin, and it's just a really great wine on its own, but with food as well. A lot of people gravitate to this wine, and it's a great starting point and example of what Orin Swift is about. On to 8 Years in the Desert. So this is a Zinfandel with Grenache Petit Syrah. And this is the 2018 vintage. In Wine Rack they have the 2017 vintage. And it's an interesting story, 8 Years in the Desert, because Dave produced a wine called The Prisoner, which was just a Zinfandel blend. And he sold it, and he signed a contract which stipulated after 8 years, for 8 years he couldn't produce a Zinfandel blend. And a lot of people said to him, oh, don't worry, the contract is void, it's not legally binding. And he said, no, I'm a man of my word. And after 8 years, he then created 8 Years in the Desert. And this is a real sort of brainchild of Dave and his love of Zinfandel. And in actual fact, he's written a storybook that goes in with the wine if you buy a case. And all the labels are different. So this one has a bit of sort of cling film around it with a bit of chicken wire and film and a picture. And this is to be a homage to the amount of work that went into the wine and sourcing the wine and sourcing the story behind it. Each label is different, and there are only going to be 8 vintages of the wine, and then that will be it. So it's a bit of a collector's item. Let's have a smell on the nose. So really bright cherry fruit, which you'd expect with a Zinfandel, and just a little bit more sweetness on the sweet cherry fruit and the red berry and the strawberry, more red fruit focused. And on an appearance, it's about the same sort of, it's a little bit lighter than the abstract. Well, to give you a bit of background to Dave Phinney is he started his degree in law, and as he was going through the law degree, he wasn't too sure when he finished if he wanted to continue that degree into a career. His friend said to him when he was just about sort of in his final year, come over to Florence with me, I've got a roommate who's just dropped out of me, I've got a spare bed, it'll be a bit of fun, 2 months out and we'll come back. So Dave said, oh, I've got nothing to lose, why not? So he travelled with his friend, and his friends had a background in wine from his parents, and he said to Dave, right, I'm going to educate you in wine. So each night they bought a bottle of wine from a different part of Italy, and that sort of spurred his love of wine. And he's finished his degree, came back to America, and then sent his resume out to 60 to 50 different wineries, and they all refused, except for Robert Mondavi, who said, we've got a great picking well for you. And he said, oh, I'll take it. And this great picking well, it was from midnight to sort of 6 in the morning, and it was a late sort of picking, and a graveyard shift almost. And he realised that if he wanted to do it, this is in '97, he was going to have to do it for himself. So in '98 he set up Orin Swift, Orin being his father's middle name and Swift being his mother's maiden name. And he stipulated that he wanted to sort of continue sourcing fruit from here, there and everywhere. The first year was not a great success. He realised that with great wine you've got to have good grapes to start off with. And he then worked tirelessly, and he credits the fact that the patience and the generosity of the other winemakers in America, he is very grateful for, because it's he wouldn't be where he is. Anyway, let's have a taste. Ooh. You've got that lovely repeat of that cherry flavour coming through, a little bit of chocolate, almost a bit of I'd say sort of rustic element, almost that leather, a little bit of spice as well, and it's just really smooth and really well made, and it's got that sort of smoothness to it. A little bit lighter than the Grenache, and it's still abundant in fruit, but very different in style. So this is £45, or $44.99 in your wine rack, and it's a great wine. It would be great on its own, or if you're looking for a meat comparison, work well with almost a little bit of beef, almost a little bit of pork with a little bit of spice to it. The richness will sort of temper that spice note to it. Or if you're looking sort of more vegetarian option, it would probably be more a casserole, or a bit of something with a little bit more spice to it as well. A sort of vegetarian curry would work fantastic, but not too spicy, just quite light in style. Or even tofu would work fantastic well with this wine. On to Palermo. So this is Palermo, a rather iconic label. The only label that he hasn't produced himself. And this is Cabernet Franc and Merlot. Now this wine is the wine that he's sort of favourite out of the whole range, because the top wine is a straight Cabernet, Mercury Head, and all the Cabernet that doesn't reach that blend goes into Palermo. And people gravitate to the top wine, but this is his baby, this is his child, because it's such an amazing wine. This is Napa Valley, as opposed to the regional California of these two. So focused, and it's exceptional wine. It's sourced from many areas within Napa, but one of the areas is called Stagecoach Vineyard, which is really high up, so high that when they cultivated it, they needed to use dynamite and brute force to break down the rocks, which are the size of cars. And I think they had to move 1 billion rocks just to sort of start ploughing and creating vines. So a lot of effort's gone into this, and you can tell with the wine it's exceptional. And let's have a taste. So you're getting that menthol note coming to it. That's sort of typical Cabernet, with a little bit of blackberry, blackcurrant, oak, oil-made, classy Cabernet from Napa. And what's interesting about this Napa is 2017 vintage. It's exceptional wine. We had a blind tasting of all of the Cabernets, and what we could tell the difference between this Cabernet and all the other class Cabernets in Napa is that this just had a little bit more freshness of fruit, that ripeness, that really sort of, it's a hook that catches you and just thinks, I've got to taste this. And on that note, let's have a taste. A little more dark fruit coming through, more smoke, more sort of licorice, almost a dark chocolate as well as that sort of dark plum with that sort of black currant as well, and leather and almost that sort of that leather coming from a sort of saddle almost. It's really sort of fantastic and tasty. This sees around about, I think it's around about sort of 8 to 10 months in French oak again, majority second usage. Palermo is the name from the actual Cascoons the image is from. He saw this in the National Geographic and just said, right, I'll ring up the photographer Vincent Musi, and he said, name your price, I want it, and got it, and it's a rather iconic label, and this is in the Cascoons itself. The blend changes. A couple of years ago it was Cabernet Malbec Merlot, so it just gives him that flexibility, and he likes to choose that. And some vintages on sort of other wines that he doesn't actually produce, he has that focus and quality drive. This is around about £44, £44.99 exactly, and it's amazing. It's a great wine for if you're looking for a class Cabernet from Napa. This is your jam. It's amazing. It's got that ripe fruit to it. It'll age, but also drink well now, and it's just fantastic. So 3 wines, very, very different in style, very opulent in fruit, more sort of red fruit character with a little bit of ripeness to it. The Palermo, a little bit more classy and more classic in style with that ripeness, but also that oak and that focus coming through with that nice finish. Food-wise, for the Palermo, steak would work fantastically well. Game, anything with that sort of really meaty character would work fantastically well and serve against this wine and marry very, very well. On the vegetarian side, cheeses, a selection of cheeses work well, or even with a little bit of sort of char-grilled vegetables with a little bit of a sort of spicy sauce to it, not too spicy. Anyway guys, these are the wines. I'm Robbie, I'm the Fine Wine Ambassador of Orin Swift, and as I said, Dave Phinney, Orin Swift is unique in the sense that they source their fruit from anywhere within California. Quality fruit is their main focus and drive. Unique, different grape available and where they source it from, and the story and the unique labels that you will remember when you see them in the shop, and they all have a great story to have. Mike will certainly be able to tell you a bit more about the wines. If you have any questions, do ask him. I'll be very happy to answer them. Anyway, cheers guys, drink some Californian wine, and I'll see you for the next video. Cheers for now.